I do love me some German short rows, so I was just planning to like dip my toe, do a couple of short rows, and all of a sudden I looked up and it was like 4 a.m. and I'd completed all of the German short rows. So hi, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Oline and I'm a knitter from Norway, and welcome to my knitting podcast. Here I talk about all things knitting, my current project, my finished projects, my planned projects, and a lot of the time I talk about yarn and just everything that comes to mind while I sit here and chat with you. Thank you so much for coming to hang out with me today. But before we move into all of that, I thought I'd share a little bit about what I'm wearing. And today I'm wearing one of my favorite cardigans. I don't have that many, so they're kind of all my favorites. But since this entered my knitted wardrobe, I think about 6 or 7 months ago now, this has definitely been one of my most worn cardigans. And it's my Eva Cardigan. Today I've just buttoned the top button, and that is something I love about cardigans. I am absolutely obsessed with cardigans right now, both knitting them. I want to knit all of the cardigans and wearing them. I think cardigans are the absolute best during springtime because at least here I can wake up in the morning and it's snowing outside and the ground is covered with snow, like today. But now as the day has moved on and the sun is starting to shine through, the temperatures are rising, the snow's melting, and it's actually quite pleasant to be outside and a lot warmer, and I just love cardigans for that time of year. This is a really woolly cardigan. It's Petiteknit, it's Norwegian wool, it's super warm. So it's perfect in the mornings when I'm cold and it's freezing. It's just horrible weather for it being spring, but this is still a nice cardigan. And as the day moves on, I can unbutton it, I can fully open it even, and it just regulates the temperature perfectly. Just by opening it like that, I feel that it's a lot less warmer because it covers less of my torso, but it still keeps like my back and my arms warm, which is nice, and it's still quite windy here, so I still love to just have like a little blanket of wool over me. I feel cardigans are very much that, just a fitted blanket sometimes. So I'm absolutely obsessed with all of my cardigans when it comes to spring weather, because spring weather is it can't really make its mind up. It's snowing 1 second and the sun is shining the next. But for the Eva cardigan, as I said, I used Petiteknit, and I'm pretty sure I used the navy blue color, which I am really happy with. And immediately when I saw the pattern when it released, I knew that I wanted this in navy blue, and I've gotten so much use out of it. I love blue, so I'm not surprised that I've gotten a lot of wear out of my blue cardigan. This is my only blue cardigan, but I think the Eva has a lot of really pretty details that maybe the navy blue is not the best at showing off. Of course, you can't see them if you really look for them, but a lot of details kind of like melt into the fabric when the yarn is so dark, so you can't really see the double ribbing that well. You definitely can't see the shoulder construction as well as you could in a lighter yarn. So even though I love this, I would really want another one. I think also because I love this so much, because I love this cardigan for everything that it is, but I would also love the same cardigan just in lighter yarn, so I could also show off some of the details this has. And I already know that I love the fit and yeah, just everything about it. I really like working it up, even though I can never get the shoulder construction right on the first try. But I know I love a lot about this cardigan, so I really want to be able to make myself a second one just with lighter yarn. I did make one for my sister around Christmas time as a Christmas present for her, and then I used drops lima in the color almond, and that turned out really nice, and you can see the details a lot better, even though the almond color is not the lightest color either. And I really like that version, and I love the fabric that the drops lima gave that cardigan. So if I am to make another one, I'm pretty sure I would want to make it in drops lima, just for a bit of a different feel than the Petiteknit. And I have thought about making it in the color almond, but I think I would most want it to be like a beige or a really light grey, like almost white but grey. I think that's what I would want that cardigan to be, but I have already a lot of yarn and a lot of yarn with a plan in my stash, so it's not something that's going to happen right away, but I would love to make another one whenever I get the opportunity. But with this cardigan originally I was also going to use another yarn. I was going to use the Mjuk Vestavin, which I already had in my stash, and immediately when the pattern released and I knew that I wanted this in navy blue, I went to look at the pattern for how many grams or how many skeins I would need for my size, and then I went in my stash to see how many skeins I actually had of that Mjuk Vestavin, which was also navy blue, and I think for my size I needed 14 skeins, so 700 grams, and I only had 9 skeins in my stash, so 450 grams, so I of course knew immediately that I wouldn't be able to make it with my stash yarn, and would have to get yarn. And there was no doubt in my mind that I would still make this one because I loved the look of it. So I decided, this was actually my first time trying Petiteknit yarn, so I decided I would just kind of splurge on that yarn for myself to be able to finally knit with the yarn that the pattern recommends, because I almost never do that, and to be able to try Petiteknit for the first time. And at the same time I decided that the yarn in my stash would turn into a matching cardigan for my son, because the colors are of the Mjuk Vestavin. Do you have it here behind me? The colors of the Mjuk Vestavin is really similar to the color of this Petiteknit. I don't think they're 100% a match, but they are close enough that you definitely get away with it. So even before I had bought the yarn for this one, and before I had cast on, before everything, I already had a plan in mind that this was going to turn into a match. I love knitting matches for my son and myself. It's been my favorite thing to knit ever since he was born, so of course I wanted another one, and when I had this yarn in my stash anyway that I knew would fit the pattern, just not my size, I thought it was the perfect plan. And as I said, I made this about 6 or 7 months ago, so that's been a plan in my head ever since. It's just never made it to the top of the priority list. There's always been another project that I've thought, oh, I should finish this first, or now I have to knit this, and I've just never found the time to cast on. But when I finished our last matching pieces, the melange sweater, I did that a couple of weeks ago, someone in the comments reminded me of my plan to knit us matching Eva Cardigans, and instead of getting in my head and thinking, no, I have too many other projects going on, and no, it doesn't really, I don't really have the time for it right now, I decided to just cast it on, and if I didn't have the time for it, it would just have to wait. But I always find it a lot easier to make time for the project that already are on my needles, so I just went ahead and cast on, and that one turned out to be exactly what I needed, because I think now 2 weeks later I have finally finished Eva Cardigan, and now we can finally match. I think I finished this a couple of days ago now, and even though you'll never usually catch me weaving in ends and doing buttons this soon after I finish a project, I've actually done it for this one because I really wanted to show it as like a completely finished project in this podcast, and my son also really wanted this done. So this is his finished Eva cardigan. As you can see, we even have the exact same buttons because I bought us buttons at the same time, so I would have enough for both of our cardigans. I knit his cardigan in the size 3 to 4 years, I think, and he tried it on today. I did wash and block it yesterday, and it was just barely dry this morning, so I showed it to him and said, look, your cardigan is finished, and of course he immediately wanted to try it on, and he did, and the fit was so good. My fiance even commented on it that he had been a bit skeptical, but once he saw it on, he really liked the fit of it too. And he was so cute while wearing it. It gave him immediate grandpa vibes. I think it's something with the quite wide color this has that just gave him a lot of grandpa vibes. But he loved it, and he was just biking around inside and running around and enjoying wearing his cardigan. It was quite hard to get him to take it off for me to podcast with it actually, because he loved it, and I'm so happy that he loves everything I knit for him. He is definitely the most knit-worthy person in my life, and I just find so much joy in... I of course love making our matching clothes, but just all his knits in general, being able to tell him like, look, this is what I'm knitting you, and showing him it as a work in progress, and him seeing me work on it throughout the whole project, and him being excited for it to be done, and then finally showing it to him when it's all done, and he just really appreciates all parts of the project. And I just love that he also loves knitting, and hopefully that will last for forever, at least as long as possible. But we finally have our match now, and I did try to take a couple of pictures earlier today, but I don't know how well they turned out. I'll have to go and look closer at them, because trying to capture two quite dark cardigans is not really the easiest in pictures, but hopefully we got a couple of good ones, and I just love being able to make us matching clothes. And I'm also quite happy with how it turned out with the yarn actually, because Petiteknit is a bit more of a scratchy yarn, at least this dark color is. I have tried Petiteknit a couple of times afterwards, and it's not been that scratchy, but this dark navy blue is quite scratchy still now after wearing it for quite some time. It's definitely one of my scratchier pieces I have in my wardrobe, whereas this one with the mjuk vestavin is super soft, and also just breaking it up I could just feel by the way the yarn felt when I was knitting it up that this would be such a soft finished piece, and now that it's blocked it is so soft and it's just squishy and so nice to feel. So I think that was definitely the best way this could go, because even though my son does not really react to wool at all, he never thinks it's scratchy or itchy or anything, I don't think I have no I don't really want to tempt fate. I don't want him to wear wool that's actually scratchy or itchy and then kind of be turned off of wool. So I'm happy that he got the softer piece out of the two of us, and I think the colors match quite well, even though it's two very completely different yarns. They are at least 100% wool, both of them, but I'm really excited for these cardigans, and I think for both of us they will be great during the springtime and also going into summer and cold summer days and evenings and fall and everything. I've had this since last fall and it's been great through fall and winter and the bit of spring we've had so far, but I really think that these cardigans are great for just all year. But I do hope that we get a bit better weather soon where we won't have to wear these all day and where we can change out our like heavy knitted wardrobe for some lighter pieces. But that is the one finished item I have today. I just did finished items first because it made the most sense. I usually do my whips in order, oldest to newest, and I think that's what I'm going to do this week as well. And of course my oldest whip is the wedding dress. I think that's going to be my oldest whip for quite some time. This week I did not get to knit on it much, not as much as maybe I'd hoped, because most of my knitting time this week has been like on the move. I've been running after my toddler while trying to knit, or we've been visiting my toddler's friend and her parents a lot, so I've just tried to cram knitting time in between all the different activities we've been doing, and the wedding dress is not really something I can cram in knitting time for, because I oftentimes need to focus to make sure that I'm doing it right and think a lot about what I'm doing and why in order to accomplish what I hope to do. So first up, the skirt. I could probably have worked more on this because this is quite mindless at this point. I'm just working in the round and waiting for it to grow bigger, and I think I've done 10 stitches maybe, but this is also not the easiest thing to knit on while running after a toddler or going around different places, because mohair can easily tangle if you're just taking it with you everywhere, and since the needles are so much heavier than the project in itself, I often have to like focus on it when I knit to make sure my stitches are quite even. Also my hands don't love chunky needles, so I've just not knit a lot of this skirt, but hopefully I'll be able to knit more on it this week. I am really excited to see this grow. I think if this is with one skein of each color, so one of the white and one of the blue, and that got me this length. So I think by the time I've done like 3 skeins of each, I'll get to a length where I might be able to actually try it on. So I'm really excited for that. So I really want to work towards that goal this next week, but there's not really much more to say about this at this current point. But I have done a little bit on the main wedding dress, definitely not as much as I'd hoped at the beginning of the week, but the week has just been busier than anticipated. But this up and coming week I don't think we really have much planned at all, so hopefully that means more knitting time on this wedding dress, because I really want to get the top part of it done now so I can start working on the skirt and start seeing it actually turn into a dress. But last week I had just finished like the bodice part here, or this is the right way, but just finished lacing it up and it's actually starting to look like something. I was able to try it on for the first time last week, so all of that's been really nice. And when I tried it on, I realized that I wanted to knit the strap for the top part of the wedding dress by continuing this cable I have here. In the beginning I thought I would do the straps by knitting from the front in Yndestrikk and attaching it to the back, but I've decided to do it with the cable, and I have started a little bit. As you can see, this is the strap, but it's been a bit hard to work on because I've been second guessing a lot about the strap being a bit thin. I'm trying to show you, it's a bit hard with all of these things, but I've been a bit worried about it being too thin. But I'm going to do I-cord on both sides, so that should thicken it up a bit. And I also think if it's not pulled like that, but pulled a bit more out, maybe in blocking, that it will turn a bit wider, but it's definitely not going to be wide straps. So I have not knit as fast as I maybe could because I've just spent a lot of time second guessing myself, but I've decided to just knit the strap now, and if I don't like it when it's finished, I'll go back later, but for now I'm just trusting the process. But another thing about this strap is that to measure how long I'm actually supposed to knit it, I need to try it on, and since the only knitting time I've had has been on the go, or really late at night, I've not really been able to try it on in like daylight to see how it actually looks, and ideally I need my fiance's help to like kind of measure for me how much longer I have to knit, because it's kind of hard to try it on and then try to like measure over my shoulder like that, and I'll only be able to get like hand measurements then. So one day when we both have time, I would like to be able to try this on and just see how long the straps need to be. So hopefully I'll be able to do that this week, because next week I at least want to have one strap like done Kitchener stitch to the other side of the dress, hopefully both of them, so I'll be able to try it on with straps basically all done. After the straps I just need to do I-cord edges around all of the stitches on the top and of course the straps. So I'm really excited for that to just all be done. I think I'm going to do some sort of other sleeve too, but I'm not 100% sure what the rest of the sleeve is going to look like, but I know that I'm going to have straps and then some sort of different type of sleeve. But once the straps are done, I feel like the top really is done, and I'll be able to start working on the skirt. And the skirt part of the main wedding dress is probably the thing about this whole project that I'm the most excited about. And it's been kind of hard to not just like skip the straps once this was laced up. I didn't want to start doing the skirt before I'd laced this up, but once I'd done that, it was so hard to convince myself to do the straps before just starting the skirt, because my fingers are itching to start the skirt so I can try it on and it's actually feeling like a dress. But I'm staying strong and doing the straps first. But yeah, there's not really a lot to say about this because I got so little done, but hopefully next week the top will be done, and or at least you know the straps, but all of the like really hard, mentally challenging parts of the top where I have to think a lot will hopefully be done next week, because when I've done the first strap, if that fits right, I won't really have to think at all about doing the second strap, and then I can just like mirror it, copy it exactly. So I just really want to get that first strap out of the way so this project can be a bit less nerve-wracking, because not knowing how it's going to turn out is really nerve-wracking. But that is the wedding dress this week. Not as much progress as last week, but I don't have that much time every Wednesday, and Wednesday is my wedding dress day, and this Wednesday I was just fully booked. But I hope, cross fingers, everything, that I get more time next week, and I'm so excited about it that I'm probably going to knit on it other days than just Wednesday as well. But that's all for the wedding dress. Then my next oldest project is the Ingrid, and this has been on my needles for quite some time now. I didn't think it would take me this long, but I've also been knitting on a lot more projects than I thought I would do while working on the Ingrid, but I think this is about a month on my needles now. But I just finished the body. I think I finished the body a day or two ago. I wonder if I actually finished it yesterday, like early yesterday. I can't quite remember, but I very recently finished the body on the Ingrid, and I've been really excited to finish the body on the Ingrid because finishing the body always feels like being so close to the finish line for me. Sleeves, I feel like, just fly by. So yeah, this feels like I've finally made some good progress, and I've been really excited about finishing the body too, so I can easier try it on to see how this neckline is looking, because I have been a bit worried about the neckline being too chunky, so I'm going to try it on now just so we can see together how the neckline looks. I'm not loving the fit of the Ingrid pre-blocked. If this was what the final thing looked like, it would be a no from me. So this whole sweater is in desperate need of a block, but this is the neckline. If you can see, it is quite chunky. I feel like it kind of stands up on its own, and it's like almost like a mock neck because it's so high, because it's so chunky. But as I said, this like whole thing needs to be blocked like this. So I think this, it's hard to kind of gauge what the actual fit would be like after blocking, because now that I've pulled on it, I feel like it's laying down a bit more, and I do have to pull on this quite a lot because this sweater needs to be blocked. I don't know, what do you think? Because I don't want the neckline to feel like it's like choking me, or like it's like a different vibe than the whole sweater, but I feel maybe when I pull on it I quite like how it looks, so I think this survives this round as well. I have like thought, I first noticed it was quite chunky the first time I joined under the sleeves, and then I thought, okay, I'll leave it and see how it looks when I get like the full length and the full weight of the sweater on. And try to make up my mind now, but now that I'm wearing it now, I think I'll actually have to wait and see until the whole sweater is finished and the whole sweater is blocked. It's not like the neckline would take me that long to do again either way. And when I pull on it, I am quite pleased with the look, and I do love double folded neckline, so if I'm able to keep it like this, just it fitting a lot better, that would be like my dream scenario. This is how the Ingrid currently looks. I'm really excited to finish the sleeves just so I can block it out and yeah, see it look a lot better, because unblocked Ingrids are not the prettiest. But that is the Ingrid. As I said, I'm super excited about the sleeves. My biggest issue though is that while I am super excited about the sleeves and I am super excited to have a finished Ingrid sweater, I've been dreaming about Ingrid sweater for so long. While all of that is true, I still have to pick up stitches for sleeves, and the issue kind of with that is that with necklines I usually am not that specific with the number of stitches I pick up. If it's like one, or not one, but like if it's 2 or 4 or 6 off, it's fine. But with sleeves, especially these structured sleeves, you have to pick up the correct amount of stitches, and I don't love doing that. I don't love picking up stitches at all. Really, so it's kind of a bit of a mind block. Even though I do really want to work on it, I also really don't. So that's kind of where I'm at with this one. As I said, I have finished this ribbing part a little while ago, but I have not picked up any of the sleeves yet. Also the ribbing, I just needed a bit of a break from the Ingrid after the ribbing, because when I started the ribbing, I think I started the ribbing maybe on Tuesday or Monday, and I thought, okay, now this sweater, this like body part of the sweater is going to be done like today or tomorrow. Ribbing goes by so quickly, I thought to myself, and then I started and the ribbing went by so slowly. One thing was like the double ribbing, that went by like okay quickly, but when the single ribbing started, which I thought was going to go even quicker because I do more single ribbing, it went by so slow. And I think it is, I can't really blame the needle size because you're doing it based on rows and based on length, but I think my needle was wrong, not the needle size but the needle in itself. I was using my 80cm 3.5mm needle, and it's not my favorite needle to begin with. It's not a great needle. I don't know what kind of needle it is. It's just a hand-me-down from my mother, and it's not great. And I also think 80cm was a bit too long, so I really had to pull on the stitches all the time instead of them just like the knitting flowing. I had to like stop and pull on the stitches. So I think the whole experience would have been a lot better if I'd actually used better needles and maybe 60cm needles. But I did get there in the end, and I have done Italian bind off, and I always think Italian bind off flares, or tubular I should say, because I do those two setup rows first. I always think that flares a bit before blocking, but of course this is going to get blocked out and then that won't be an issue at all. When doing it, I had also just barely got the like length of the thread I would need to do the tubular bind off wrong, so I had to go in here and weave in these ends and start again with a new strand. So that was not the best, but I think it turned out quite seamless. Here you can't really see with the bind off that I have ran out of yarn and had to use a new thread. So that's the Ingrid this week. I have finally finished the body. I think last podcast I was about here, so I was just finishing up the last few rows on this crisscross pattern, but the ribbing took me all week, and I worked on the Ingrid quite a lot. This has been like the project that has been with me round and about, because I just thought, of course, it's ribbing. Ribbing is not that hard. It's very easy to do while looking after a toddler or while talking to people. So this has been the project that this week that's gotten the most attention, and still I didn't do as much as I had maybe hoped, but I am going to do the sleeves. I'm not going to say I have to force myself, but I definitely have to like convince myself to do the pickup, because I just don't enjoy picking up stitches. But I just have to like kick my ass into gear, and once I get started I'm pretty sure I will like it, even though I've heard some bad things about the decreases on these sleeves. But I just have to do it, so I'll actually end up with a finished Ingrid sometime soon. I did think the Ingrid might be a bit of a too like warm project to fit this time of year. I've been thinking about this a bit this week, but I guess the weather just wanted to prove me wrong, because yesterday and today it's been snowing so much. Luckily not during the day today, but in the evening yesterday and today when I woke up, there was so much snow. It just felt like the winter was going to start all over again. So the weather definitely reminded me that where I live, it's great to have like winter sweaters year round, and at least this has more of like spring color to it, so I can still have a spring wardrobe even though I need all the wool. But that is the Ingrid. The next whip is the last whip that I've carried over from last week, and that is the Carl's cardigan. Last week I'd done a bit more than half of the body of the Carl's cardigan, and now the Carl's cardigan is done. This has been a great thing to knit on this week. It's just when I wanted to turn my brain off and just sit and enjoy my knitting, this was my go-to project. Of course it went by quite quickly as it is for babies, but having some baby knits to knit on is so important. I enjoy baby knits so much, and they're relaxing in a very different way than like adult knits are. So I really loved having this project this week, and I still absolutely love Drops Daisy and just the quality and the stitch definition, and especially this color is just so great for this cardigan. I'm absolutely obsessed. So of course that meant that this part of the Carl's cardigan was completed quite quickly this week because I loved working on it. So now this is all done, and as you might see, it's even on stitch shoulders because I needed the needle for something else. So this is just waiting until I finish the sleeves, and I have started working on that, and just look how cute this is. And I love Drops Daisy for stockinette as well. I think the way the stitches look is just so great. But this is the first sleeves. Sleeves for small babies just work up so quickly, and I don't know, I think Carl's cardigan sleeves also just work up quickly. There's something about them that just, they fly by. So this is the first sleeve. I've put it on some other needles to keep this like on hold as well, and now I just have to knit up the second sleeve and then connect them all, and then comes like the worst part in my opinion about knitting bottom up, because that part where you connect the sleeves is just such a pain. It's a really difficult like section to work, and everything just gets so tight and like uncomfortable to knit for a couple of rows, but it does look good in the end. I think it's a bit more ends to weave in, and it's a bit more messy in my opinion, but for the Carl's cardigan I'll do it because I do love the Carl's cardigan. This is part of the christening outfit for my twin cousins. I have finished one of the mobile slipovers, and then I'd say I'm almost finished with the Carl's cardigan as well, because I just have one sleeve and the yoke to go. So I'm definitely like 3/4 of the way there, maybe 3/5. I'm really close to being there, but I definitely have to start prioritizing these projects a bit more, because we are almost in May now, and their christening is right at the beginning of June, so I just have a little bit more than a month left. And I've been I started working on the Mobi slipover a while ago. I think I started when I had almost 2 months till the christening, so, and I'm not even halfway done yet, and about half of the time has gone, so I really need to prioritize this more, because this even though I'm trying to knit without putting myself on deadlines right now, this is a real deadline. They need their outfit. I've said that I'm going to do it, so I definitely have to like buckle down soon and just crank these out. But as I said, I've not had a lot of time to knit at home lately, and also doing sleeves on DPNs is an at home sitting quietly activity. I don't like to run around with DPNs, so I hope that next week definitely will give me a lot of knitting time, because there's so many things I want to accomplish. Both this project, the wedding dress, the Ingrid, I have a lot of things I want to get to, but this is definitely something that needs to be prioritized. I think I'm on both my second and third skein, because the pattern tells you to break the yarn when you're done working the body, but I don't like to do that, because you're supposed to continue working on the body from where you break the yarn, so I don't do that. Instead I grab a new skein to work the sleeves, and then I can just continue working the yoke with the yarn I used for the body. So that's what I'm doing now too. So I have about half of the skein left and about half of the skein I used to do sleeves left. So I think I've used 2 skeins for this. I think I'll end up using a bit more than 3 skeins, because I have to do the yoke and then the button bands. So I am super excited for this to be done. It's turning out so cute. I can't wait to see it like finished next to the Moby slipover, especially once I finish both the slipovers and both the Carl's cardigan. I think this will be such a cute like matching twin outfit. I am so excited. I just need to find some knitting time to actually work on all of these plans. But that's the little update on the Carl's cardigan, also patterned by Petiteknit. And then for the first of my new cast-ons, I have the project that stole the needle from the Carl's cardigan, and I think the Carl's cardigan has to steal the needle back this week. But this is the Paul cardigan. If you watched my midweek vlog, you might have seen me cast this on. I cast this on to see how much I could knit in a day, and the answer to that was one of these shoulders and then about half of the other shoulder. Since then I've knit both of the shoulders finished, both of these shoulders finished. I've sewn them together here, and I've picked up stitches for the back yoke. It's a bit hard to show because everything just wants to curl up because there's no edges yet, but I've also picked up stitches here for the back yoke, and I've done all of the German short rows for the back yoke as well. You start here doing them, and then you can see like the difference in length here to here with all the short rows, and I just managed to complete that before I ran out of yarn for my first skein of Drops Baby Merino. So that's all I had time to do this week, and this was done, most of it was done that one day where I was trying to knit as much as possible, and then like the back yoke part was done one evening. I was just supposed to like pick up stitches so I would be good to go in the morning, but I do love me some German short rows, so I was just planning to like dip my toe, do a couple of short rows, and all of a sudden I looked up and it was like 4 a.m. and I'd completed all of the German short rows. So German short rows are definitely like dangerously addictive, at least for me, but that means that I did finish a good chunk of the back yoke. I think I only have like a couple more rows to do and then some increases, and then the back yoke is done. It is really hard to show when it only wants to curl up on itself so much, but this is my project so far. And of course I'm knitting it using these 2 yarns. I'm knitting it with my Drops Baby Merino and Kid Silk in strong green and like parrot green, I think they're called. And I am absolutely loving these colors. This has been in my stash for so long. I've been wondering what to do with it. This January I found the perfect project. I bought the yarn for it, and finally I have cast the cardigan on, and the colors are working up together better than I had even dreamed or hoped. I'm so pleased with how they look together. My fiance even commented on how great they were together, because in his words it would be a bit too boring with just this color. It's like a flat color, only one color, but with the Kid Silk and the fluff of the Kid Silk, and the Kid Silk is also a bit lighter. He said that brings the whole cardigan a lot more to life, and there's a lot more like play in the color. So I think it's fun how much he involved himself in the knitting and how many opinions he has when he gets asked. I think sometimes he just has an opinion, so I'll leave him alone about the knitting, but at least he shares his opinion with me, and he has the patience to listen about me babble about knitting, because I babble about knitting just as much to him as I do to all of you. But that is my Paul cardigan so far. It's by Morecaknit, and as I said, I am absolutely obsessed with cardigans. There's something about this time of year that just, I want all the cardigans. The same with fall, it's just give me all the cardigans. But I think I talked a bit about wanting like very basic cardigans, so they will go with everything, and this is definitely not that, but I just couldn't not cast this on. I think this will be a perfect cardigan for spring, because this green just reminds me of everything coming to life and being green and vibrant and just lifelike, and I love that. And since it's just going to snow here all the time, I'm going to just live vicariously through my knitting. I have been a bit unsure about this color because the green is really vibrant, so I've been a bit unsure about it suiting me, but I've heard a really great saying about the color green before, and that is that you've never seen a flower that doesn't suit its stem, and I think that's a great way of looking at the color green. So I'm just now really excited to have this to work on, but it's definitely not going to be my main focus this next week, because this was really an impromptu cast on. I wasn't really supposed to cast it on until I was finished with the Ingrid sweater, and I do want to focus on that so I'll actually be able to finish it. And of course I have a lot of other knits with actual deadlines that I need to focus on, but I'm really happy I have this on my needles, and just looking at it being so vibrant gives me a lot of joy. So even though I wasn't supposed to cast this on, I am really happy that I did. But that's all for that project. And then my last project, which means I in total have 5 active webs. I have this one here. It's a bit hard to show. This was definitely not something I was supposed to cast on. I felt like I very much had... Oh, the mohair really got in my face. I felt like I really had enough webs and enough going on, but yesterday I just had such an itch to cast something on. I really wanted to start working on my summer knits wardrobe, but as I said, it really heavily snowed yesterday. You could barely see through the snow, and it just felt a bit wrong sitting in the snow and starting my summer wardrobe, so decided to postpone that. But I still just could not scratch the itch about casting something on, so I looked a bit through the different yarn that I have, and I found all of these skeins of drops here. This is, I think it's the mauve color of drops here, and I had 10 skeins of that drops here, and immediately my mind went to this blanket that we have. This is a blanket I made for my son when I was pregnant with him, and I have to like stand up so you can see. I'll go back here so you can see it a bit better, but this is a blanket I made for my son. It's really big. It's like, it's the size of me. It's even bigger than me, but I made this for my son and we used it a lot. We used it a lot when he was a baby. It was so great. It's so big that he was really able to like snuggle up with it. And then there's been a little while now that we haven't really used it that much. But now that he's bigger and has the time to sit still again, we're using it a lot. He likes to like cozy up underneath it, and this blanket is actually really warm, and as you can see it's super big, so we can fit underneath it as well. And yeah, we're just getting a lot of use out of this now, and I know that when I made this out of 10 skeins of drops air as well, double-stranded on needle, I think needle size 9. And this is originally a baby blanket pattern called Byssanlull by Klompelompe. And I think the original pattern is knit with like DK weight yarn on 4.5mm needles. So I just changed that up and did it on 9mm needles and got this absolutely massive blanket, because this is just me following the pattern. And we're really loving this blanket. I've loved it the whole time. I loved working it up. I love everything about it. So when I found out that I had 10 skeins of drops air again in this lovely color that I also feel really suits this other blanket, I immediately knew that I had to make another one. And I didn't want to do the same pattern twice, so for this one I'm doing the Garntopia baby blanket by Yndestrikk. And it is a bit hard to show because I just barely got started yesterday. It moves quite quickly, so it looks like a lot more, but I just did the repeat as many times as I had to like be able to do it now without having to look at the pattern all the time. And I also finished my first 2 skeins of drops air, so this is already 1/5 of the way done. But let's see if you can see the pattern at all. It's starting to come along. It is quite similar to the other blanket. It has yarn overs, it has these moss stitch borders, because I wanted it to have like a similar vibe, just not be identical. This blanket is originally knit with 2 strands of like Sunday, Sandnesgarn Sunday on needle 5.5, so I don't know if it will be quite as big as that one, because that is knit on 4.5 and I changed it to 9, while this is worked on 5.5 and I changed to 9, so it's not quite as big a change. But this is the blanket so far. I'm having a lot of fun working it up, even though it was definitely not something I imagined myself doing just now, but as it was snowing outside and I was just mad at the weather, this was a really nice project to have, and I do love knitting blankets. Of course, again, my hands don't love chunky needles, so when I stopped knitting this last night, I could definitely feel in my hands that I had played with fire, like I had knit for maybe a bit too long before stopping, but it's just so addictive, especially when it grows so fast. This was done in not long at all, and I can both like actively see the skein getting smaller as I see this get bigger, and it's just so much fun. So that's how I ended up with 5 active projects. This is also definitely not something that's going to be a focus of mine. It's just there for fun. If I knit on like the poofy mohair skirt for the wedding dress, that means I can't knit on this the same day, because I can't knit on big needles for 2 projects in the same day. I have to be really strict with myself when it comes to big needles, because they can really hurt my hand if I'm not careful, and I'm trying to stop in time so I don't get like any injuries in my hand or any pain. So I'll have to like take a step back from all kinds of knitting. So I'd rather be really careful with how much time I spend knitting on chunky needles than have to be careful with how much time I spend knitting on anything. So that's definitely something I'm going to keep in mind, and this is just like a for fun project I'm going to do a bit here and there. I am definitely excited for us to have these 2 huge cozy blankets, but yeah, I'm not in any rush. The last thing I'm going to say before I stop babbling and go back to knitting and everything else is that I got this yarn. My brother actually got me this yarn. He had a trip to Morocco, I think a week or 2 ago. And there was some sort of yarn sale there. I don't know the story exactly, but he saw yarn and he immediately thought of me. So he got me this yarn, and I am absolutely obsessed with the colors, especially this blue. I am so weak for blue, but this white and this blue together is also so good. But since he is not a yarn knower and he didn't really get any information, he just got me the yarn. I did a bit of checking when I got the yarn to see what type of yarn it was, if it was wool or if it was synthetic. So I did the burn test. I ripped off a piece of the white yarn and burned it to see, and the yarn is synthetic, which I usually don't knit with synthetic yarn, so I don't really know what to do with it. I love the colors and the yarn is really nice and soft, and I love the fact that my brother thought about me when he saw this yarn, and the fact that it's traveled with him from Morocco. I think that's really cool, but I don't really want to knit any like wearable like clothes out of this. I don't really want to have any clothes for me or my son or anyone really inside synthetic yarn. I don't really like the qualities of it, especially because of that burn test and the way it burns. If you ever get a spark on yourself, we spend a lot of time outside. I don't really want our clothes to be inside synthetic yarn, but I do want to use it. So if you knit with synthetic yarn for like non outfit things, what would you suggest I do with it? Is it better to crochet with it? Can I make like some cute teddy bears with it? Would that be nice with synthetic yarn? I never use synthetic yarns. I don't know what would be nice with it and how to treat it. Do you wash it in the washing machine just regularly like I do with wool? What are the rules for synthetic yarn and what do you use it for? I have so many questions. So if you use synthetic yarn and you know, I don't know what kind of synthetic this is, it's just synthetic. If you know anything, I would love to hear. I would love to learn more, and yeah, I would love to use this. I just have to figure out a good project for them, but until then they're just going to be like a special memory from the time my brother went to Morocco. But these are the yarns and they are so good. I'm so pleased. Even though he got me synthetic fiber, I'm so pleased he got me yarn and in these lovely colors, so I'm just over the moon about that. But that is all for this week's podcast. I think it turned out to be quite a long one again. I'm sorry, I just have so much to say about knitting lately, but I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like and a comment, and if you want to see more from me, please subscribe. Bye!